Yeah, okay, in case you're wondering where the president came from, let's tell you that he has returned to Abuja after attending the 2026 Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, where Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates signed a major trade agreement, ending a foreign trip that stirred public debate. The president left Nigeria on December 28, 2025 for his annual leave in Europe without a specific destination disclosed.
But we saw the president in France with Paul Kagame. And the grok of Rwanda.
And the grok controversy.
Yeah. But, I mean, Rwanda is not in Europe. We didn't know where he was in Europe at first. And this sparked public discussion before proceeding to Abu Dhabi for the January 11 to 15 summit. And, you know, this also sparked online controversy over images of him with the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan that some critics question. Now, on the sidelines of the summit, both leaders witnessed the signing of a comprehensive economic partnership agreement, CEPA, granting duty-free access for thousands of Nigerian products into the UAE market. No, this is the photo that was criticized on social media by
where he was before he went.
Well, that's the photo we saw, but
the handler said they met in France and they were discussing world issues. But it's good that Mr. President came back with goodies. You know, when our parents back then, when they travel, they always come back with toys and different things. And they came back with all these announcements.
But that's not where it ends. It's not just about the CEPA agreement that was signed. They plan to mobilize up to $30 billion annually in climate finance. And there's also there's meant to be a sustainability event happening in Nigeria in Lagos in February.
Yes,
it's called the Climate Finance, a Nigeria UAE Investopia Summit that will hold in Lagos.
And I'm really looking forward to you hosting that summit because
you know I thought
you have ties with the United Arab Emirates
and Nigeria,
and you're a climate advocate.
I am.
When did all of you become climate advocates?
Oh yes, I did a lot of work.
You really don't know.
You know the funny thing.
No, we're supposed to be colleagues.
You know the interesting thing, a full circle moment before I became an anchor of Breakfast Central when I was doing advocacy for climate change. I had been a guest.
You know, we worked together.
And was the anchor. She interviewed me.
We worked together so many years ago before Breakfast Central.
Yes, I remember.
Do you know why I knew she was an advocate for climate change? She was always in charge of the air conditioning, increasing and reducing the temperature.
I knew you were about to say wrong thing. No, that wasn't the work I did. I worked with an organization that championed...
She was expecting praise.
It's too cold.
Handicap.
Okay, I'm kind of explaining myself. Let's take a look at the video and then we'll come back to
President's return.
Some tweets and see how Nigerians are reacting to the President's return and the good news. But let's take a look at this video.
What are you talking?
And then this is a tweet by the State House press release. It says President Tinubu returns to Nigeria after Abu Dhabi trip and then goes on to tell us about CEPA and what the agreement aims to achieve. I said in his address, President Tinubu announced that a joint Nigeria United UAE Investopia will be held in Lagos in February. And this is really the bulk of what we've been saying this morning. But we should head to X now and take...
But before we take reactions, I just want to say one or two things about the President's return. Joe did highlight it earlier that the welcoming party was quite short. And I don't know if it's because of the time or the announcement, but I mean, kudos. We still saw the NSA and the National Security Advisor and the Inspector General of Police among the entourage. So we're getting there little by little.
Right?
And the presidency is always preaching about, you know, patronize Nigeria, to grow Nigeria, to help the economy.
But the
number one citizen is using a Cadillac Escalade. Why can't he use Nord Motors or
Escalade
or
Oliver? What did you call it?
There's a song on social media at the back of my
Please
television.
leave that for Gen
IVM.
Zs, please.
IVM or not motors. There are options. So
Innocent.
it would be nice to lead by example. After all, the number one citizen of Abia State does use Innocent as his official vehicle.
Absolutely.
So let's patronize Nigeria.
Okay, we'll talk about the advantages of the Nigeria-UAE Investovia Summit, which will hold in Lagos. If executed properly, this is a beautiful and a brilliant channel to open trade between both countries. By the time part of what the agreements, the SEPA agreement provides for will be that there will be duty-free. The UAE will allow duty-free Nigerian products into the UAE market, which will boost trade for us here and will build a great relationship between both our countries. But we'll come back to talk more about that. Let's see what Nigerians are saying about this on X. Our first tweet says, "Oh, he wants to visit us. This is a very good news. Welcome, Daddy Yankee."
This must be rude.
Daddy Yankee is a reggaeton artist.
Yeah, reggaeton. Way back, Gbenga. Yeah, I mean, you really did this.
People are my seniors. Me, I'm a small child, please.
Eagle Watch on West Africa crisis says trip since 2025 and return in 2026, whereas the alleged meet was held few days ago. The best caption for this should be President Tinubu visited Nigeria and not returned to Nigeria.
Wow.
Well, say all you want to say. The president is back. Aqua Hope says another foreign trip, another press release full of big numbers. Nigerians don't eat agreements or announcements. Until these deals bring light, jobs, and relief from hunger, they are just empty promises.
But Rome wasn't built in a day. Yeah,
that's
it takes
what,
time for this agreement to actualize.
Or Aqua, if I put it that way. Anyway, governance without accountability, days of vacation without public engagement, but comfortable place holder in public office. Jerry says, and this is a long one from Stephen Gerrard. He says,
Stephen Gerrard.
Yeah, not the footballer though.
Okay.
This is ex-Stephen Gerrard. It says President Bola Tinubu returned from his Abu Dhabi trip. It's a welcome development, and he, it's a welcome development. He returned.
The president is back. Yes.
And a reassuring moment for Nigerians. No, I don't agree with this statement. His continuous engagement with global leaders reflects commitment to positioning Nigeria on the world stage, strengthening international partnerships, and attracting investments that can drive economic growth and development at home. Leadership requires presence, diplomacy, and strategic dialogue, and Mr. President has shown readiness to engage beyond our borders in the interest of the nation. As he resumes duties back home, Nigerians look forward to the positive outcomes of these engagements, translating into tangible benefits for the economy, security, and overall well-being of the people. And it claps. Yes.
You know, when he ended that with that full stop Nigerian flag and the clap, I was expecting Stephen Gerrard, National Publicity Secretary of Progressive Congress, because the statement reads like it was an official statement from the presidency.
I think one key thing that we can take from this is that, one, the president is back. Two, the presidency holds us no explanation regarding his whereabouts. The thing is, he left in 2025, he's back in 2026, and he didn't just come back, he came back with a bag.
Yeah, with goodies.
With goodies.
But if we take a look at these goodies
and so on.
I mean,
but now Nigerians are saying, okay, every time we hear landmark
there's nothing even landmark about this goodies.
How does the landmark agreement translate to what all of us here, including every single Nigerian who's watching us now or not watching us, will benefit from it? That's the biggest question, because our next story would show a clear significance between what was and what it is now, in terms of the purchasing power, in terms of the economy as it stands, in terms of Nigerians' ability to live a wholesome life.
And honestly, what you said is a point I wanted to drive at earlier, that it sounds, and it is good news on the face of it, but let's break it down. If we're looking at duty-free access, if Nigerian products are granted duty-free access into the UAE, one, does it guarantee that there will be more demand for it? Are we guaranteeing that, this would impact the sales? It's one thing for you to display. It's the same way we know when we hear of pop-ups and all these trade exhibitions. People go there and don't make profit. Some of them go there and it's a loss for them. So does it guarantee an increased demand of Nigerian products? That's one. Two, how does it benefit the small and medium scale enterprises? It looks more like it might be tailored to benefit just the higher end ones and the corporates, and the SMEs are the engine on which our economy runs. Then we look at climate financing. climate financing, great idea on the surface of it, on the face of it, but how does it translate into cheaper electricity? They are reducing people from band A to band C. Does that mean that we're going to get cheaper electricity? Does it mean we're going to get, cheaper goods and services? So, looking at the bigger picture.
The climate finances we've sourced in the past.
What have we done with it? What are the miles
that
we've been able to
that they've achieved?
The Schneider agreement, what came out of that? We had an initial agreement signed with the same UAE, if you recall, when the president got into power. We had another agreement signed by the Minister of Aviation and Aeronautic Space that was equally signed recently. What have we done with that? We had another agreement that was signed, just a recent one, on the Lagos-Calabar Expressway. They said there's a little agreement that, funds has been brought in. We have, if we want to calculate the number of agreements that has been signed by this current administration, for want of words, we'll say, plenty.
And then we'll talk about even the way the funds that have been or will be mobilized, how these funds will be used in a way that will guarantee clarity, transparency, and accountability.
Summit in Lagos?
Now, Investopia Summit it's a great idea. People will come in from the UAE. We'll have an international audience. It would also boost our tourism because hotels will be booked in that season. There's a lot that will happen in terms of trade and investment. New connections, networks, and partnerships will be built. So it sounds like a great idea. Let's hope that they've put in thought into it to ensure there's adequate execution, that we can ensure that there's proper information ahead of time to aid route navigation because of the traffic. So if it is executed properly, it will be a great idea. If February is just around the corner, we'll have to wait and see.
I agree with you. But at the end of the day, we're still talking about how it trickles down to benefit the average Nigerian, because that's the basic conversation now. But talking about a basic conversation, there's one that I think is leading to a group of persons possibly trumping up a different narrative, and it's got to do with the New York Times. If you've been following this story on X, the New York Times has put out a story on social media which they titled "Screwdriver Seller Aided US Strike in Sokoto." This conversation has not gone down well with many. The man in who you see there on the screen happens to be one whom the New York Times revealed to have carried out
the research. We've interviewed him here.
Yes, we've interviewed him here.
Breakfast Central.
Hopefully, we're able to get that interview we had with him. And maybe before the end of the show, we'll be talking to our producers to try and, as much as possible, to get that interview. Before the end of the show, we'll give you a snippet of that conversation and then link you on social media to watch that interview. Well, in this entire article, I tried reading it this morning nonstop, but of course, New York Times tells you to pay money and so on. And I said, no, I'm not interested.
There's a paywall.
Yeah, the paywall and all that. But then again, Nigerians are not buying this story, because many have said it's now linking towards tribalism again, where you're picking a particular tribe and saying it's because of them or because of his information.
And then the New York Times likes to sensationalize issues, and it gives it this shock and awe. It makes it very
clickbait.
Yes, sort of like, for lack of a better word, a clickbait. People want to read this. Screwdriver salesperson gave intelligence on why. The long and short of this is that Mr. Emir, what's his name? He has this organization.
It's NGO or something.
Internations, and he provided the data that Mr. Ted Cruz used to sell the argument for that a Christian genocide was happening in Nigeria. I don't
agree with that narrative that he provided the data. I agree.
It's his organization provided
but I still don't agree that it's his organization that provided Ted Cruz with that information, because
Ted Cruz picked it, and during the Senate hearing he did quote Internations as one of his sources. And I did question the gentleman when he was on Breakfast Central, what's your sample size?
I remember you asked him that question.
What's the quality of your research? And so
Gbenga, I think this is where, personally, the media comes in and does a professional job. We've had an interview with him, and like I mentioned, we'll try as much as possible to get that interview up and run it either this week or maybe today. But another thing I want to beg of is the fact that someone from the New York Times picks a story, picks one person, and then uses it as the major reason why the most powerful president in the world, as he calls himself, President of the United States, President Donald Trump, acted in bombing Sokoto. Take note, not just taking action, but also they mentioned that it was what led to the bombing of Sokoto. However, remember that before this article came out, the Nigerian government had mentioned that they are in tandem with the United States in agreement to carry out that action.
A partnership.
So that negates a statement made by New York Times that it was because of what he wrote and the data that made them act in the bombing. No, it wasn't.
But if you look at the long chain of events, how it started in the first place, they want to sell their newspaper, so they inferred.
That's it.
So if
I don't
he
think
didn't
we should,
carry out that
we
research,
should buy that narrative.
Its research fits with Donald Trump's personal bias over Christian genocide, because it gives him a reason, a cover to go in and bomb any part of Nigeria. So the long and short of it is, in the long chain of the chain reaction, he provided data into nations, and they acted on that data, and other things happened in the course of everything.
I disagree, because he wasn't just the only person who provided data. If you read the stories, especially from international news sources, there were other agencies.
Yeah, of course.
So why single out? This is where
I get your point.
Why single out
only
one
him?
person?
And
it's almost
and you say all the people on Isha. And is this, is that? We're starting to. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I get your point.
There's
It's
a card that's being
like,
trumped up. It's like we're waking up something again, which we already know that it's election season. So what do? And then people are now saying, okay, is this the lobbyist at work? Because at the end of the day, 9 million, or how much was paid?
$9 million
dollars is like, well, we've taken this money.
Yeah, and when you get lobby money, you could also put advertorials, you could lobby journalists, anything is possible.
We'll come back to that. For our viewers watching on YouTube, we're streaming live. Go to News Central TV Live and share your thoughts about this on YouTube. Do you see any issues with this, or are you completely okay with the realization of this? But let's head to X and bring you what Nigerians are saying about this before we move on to our next story. Senator Shehu Sani says, it's unfortunate and tragic to read the New York Times report that the claim of Christian genocide was sourced from one Emeka, an Onitsha-based screwdriver trader and operator of a small NGO, who falsely claimed to have documented 125,000 Christian deaths using Google searches. How such an unverified claim could tense up the U.S. lawmakers, president, and the intelligence community that led to an airstrike is one of the most foolish and comical historical events in our lifetime. This is shameful.
Completely
shameful. The next tweet says, the same government who claimed to have given intelligence to the U.S. government are now running with a tale of how a screwdriver seller gave Trump the intelligence. Who exactly did they dash our $9 million? So, anyway, we'll come. So you want me to believe that the same Trump who went into Venezuela to carry Maduro, neutralizing drug security and Iran plus China plus Russia military tech, will take advice on terrorism from a screwdriver seller in Onitsha? The next tweet is from Nkemo Bik, and it says, IDPs didn't influence Trump. Cry for help from Middle Beltans didn't influence Trump. Our massacre, abduction of Reverend Archie, his wife and daughter, didn't influence. And every other gruesome and sad tale of religious persecution didn't influence Trump. But a screwdriver seller did. Very, very funny. What a revelation. So all the intelligence agencies in Nigeria were unreliable, that the USA relied on information by an Igbo trader in Onitsha to strike terrorists in Sokoto. If that's the case, fire on the heads of Nigerian intelligence agencies and make him their head, so we can effectively deal with terrorists.
Simple as ABC.
In Nigeria, Priscilla Amadi says.
Simple as ABC.
So I think the summary of what we're saying here is something doesn't quite add up in this story. Emeka Umeagbalasi, I believe that's his full name. Yes. Emeka Umeagbalasi, who owns this shop, they are alleging that he's the one who has claimed to give the information. They say that he's also an unlikely source of research that U.S. Republican lawmakers have used to promote the misleading, according to them, idea that Christians are being singled out for slaughter. He told the Times that he had documented 125,000 Christian deaths since 2009 using Google searches, Nigeria media reports, and data from advocacy groups like open doors. Whatever the case is, the idea or the story about the genocide is something that anybody from any part of the world can Google and find information on social media. There are people who are sharing their life reports. Even at the Congress, we saw the man who was from the Middle Belt that went there to give a life testimony. The Archbishop as well, who went to give life testimony he gave life testimony via Zoom. So there have been stories there. I agree with Joe, it feels a bit concerning to single him out as the one person who gave information. There has to be more to that. But let's move on.
And it also looks like the $9 million.
Sorry, just to move on, just to highlight, it would be a disservice, and it would be, let me say, unfair of us as journalists to also highlight the fact that while this story was going on, this story came out at a time where Nigerians were mourning the death of Imam Abubakar, the man who had hit 262 Christians during 2018 Plateau killings, because he died not too long ago at the age of 92. I would think ordinarily that this is not the time to release this type of article. If you ask me, I would say this is basically a playbook. In other words, you don't, if you want to talk about genocide, we agree that both Christians, Muslims, first of all, remove religion. Take religion away from this whole situation. We are Nigerians first. We're human beings. Blood runs through our veins. It doesn't matter if I'm in Ghana,
and Nigerians the government has failed in protecting
so
Nigerians.
I expect that if you write this article, you should write it in the area of, these killings happened, this necessitated the move or for the US to step in and so on and so forth, so Nigerian presidency or administration or whatever can stand. But you just decided to focus and say we went to Onitsha, where
they're being clever about
so
the New York
Nigerians
Times,
don't fall for this. I mean, sometimes as journalists, as media people, we should be able to pick a hole in what we see as not being clear.
We should speak to the Mr. Emeka Gwalasi as well, Umia Gwalasi, because he might even be okay with that while we're here fighting his quote-unquote battle. But let's move to our next story. A Nigerian man has sparked widespread conversation online after comparing the cost of groceries he bought in 2020 with prices in 2026, highlighting the impact of rising inflation on household spending. So just 6 years apart, and the numbers are very scary. In a post he shared on social media, the man said he decided to repurchase every item listed on an old 2020 receipt to see how bad things really are, revealing that goods which cost 25,225 naira in 2020 now sell for 147,050 naira in 2026. He calculated the difference as a 582% increase, warning that anyone whose income has not increased by at least 6 times over the same period is effectively poorer. The comparison has resonated with many Nigerians as it underscores growing concerns about the cost of living, shrinking purchasing power, and the real-life effects of economic pressures on everyday consumers. So if we can please slow down, our directors, let's call a few products. Let's start from the beginning. So pause, please. You can see here the cornflakes he bought for 575 in 2020 is 3,200 now. You can see tissue paper he bought for 180 naira in 2020. It's now 900 for one, and so that's 180 to 900. You see the difference. You can see the milk he bought in 595 naira, going for 3,900. Noodles he bought for 55 naira. Good old days when we used to buy noodles, 55 naira. He bought it for 350. It depends on where he bought it to, because in some places noodles is now 400. So he even got it cheaper. We can see here the oats he bought for 530 naira in 2020 is now 3,250. I dare say that his invoice in 2026 is even cheaper than some of us have the opportunity to buy. Because a number of these things are a lot more expensive depending on which part of Lagos you are or which part of Nigeria.
This man has a sweet tutu.
I mean, just look at it. How many percent?
Well,
500 plus.
So I was saying this
yesterday.
So
your income needs to increase.
I was saying this yesterday.
Sixfold.
Anybody that is earning a salary of 150,000. What about the ones that earn 50,000?
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage is 70.
The cleaners that earn 50,000.
75K.
The cleaners that earn 50,000. The ones that even minimum. Okay, let's even base it with minimum wage. What's the hope that your minimum wage will last you for 30
I really
days?
don't know how they survive. And it's something we need to really address.
We need to have a documentary on how Nigerians survive.
Okay, let's get to works and get the real life experiences. And just if you're watching this as well, you can go on YouTube and share your experience regarding the inflation. Lord Foster Inc. says, looking at this receipt actually brought tears to my eyes. We aren't just living in Nigeria anymore, we are just surviving. How can a bag of groceries that cost 25,000 naira in 2020 now cost 147,000 naira? That's not inflation. That's an economic massacre. Most families haven't seen their salaries double, let alone increase by 6x. The offices are celebrating economic stability, but the indigents are literally starving. It's scary to think about where we will be by 2030 if this continues, he said. Let's go to the next tweet. I can't believe people are still complaining about the supermarket. Even if you went to the most affordable one, the price will still be around that range. It doesn't change the fact that the cost of living has gone up. Imagine noodles at 55 naira in 2020 now being sold for 350 naira. This one is a leap. I won't blame the government alone for this. Nigerians also play a major role in our economic problems. Petrol prices have dropped significantly, yet transport fares, especially in Lagos, remain unchanged. In a functioning economy, lower input costs should lead to lower prices. That's basic demand and supply. But in Nigeria, prices only go up, they never come down. Ikeja to Costain is still 1,500 to 2,000 during rush hours. Surulere to CMS is still 1,000 naira. CMS to Lekki Ajah remains 1,500 to 2,000 naira. No adjustment, no justification. The same price rigidity exists in supermarkets and provision stores. Walk into Spa and nearly everything is overpriced. Housing is no different. Lagos landlords fix rents arbitrarily and car dealers inflate prices without any real cost-based explanation. These are not areas the government directly controls. Nigeria's economic crisis is not only about leadership failure, it's also about weak market discipline, unchecked greed, and citizens refusing to act rationally within the economy. Until these changes, reforms will keep failing, he says. Very detailed there.
Yeah, and it's right. I mean, the price rigidity, how do you economically explain there's a drop in the price of petrol and there's no corresponding drop in the price of transportation and goods and services? It's unexplainable.
Well, let's take the last tweet. It says, if you fasted and prayed before visiting the supermarket, they would have sold these items at exact same 2020 prices. You're a man of little faith. Fasting and prayers, 100 days dry fast.
You are very dry.
To stabilize the economy.
I
like his sarcasm.
You're not serious.
Yeah, because that's what Nigerians.
But when there's a corresponding when there's a slight increase in the price of petrol, you see prices going up.
So I have a problem, and I agree with that tweet you read. I like that tweet. Petrol price has come down to 700 plus, yet transportation still maintains the same price it did when petrol price was 900 and something now.
All right, you know what?
It should come down.
Let's quickly go on a break. When we come back from the break, we'll take reactions from YouTube as well. So head to YouTube, streaming live on News Central TV Live. Drop your comments, and we'll take your comments right after this break. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. A few comments from YouTube. Good morning, Ikechuku Victory, and good morning to everyone who's watching on YouTube. Ikechuku Victory says, the joke and shame is on the president and the APC. Mama Nonso Farin Akara will be the person to give US military info on where to strike next. Nigeria has an Igbo problem, but they will never succeed. We've survived war, he says. Jude Ifena says, fuel price reduction is not the only thing that affects fair price. What about parts, park, and touts? Lenin Ekwere says, the one problem we have in Nigeria is that there's no working system. I think when it comes to price of commodities, there are regulatory agencies responsible for it. But are they doing their job? No. Keep the comments coming. We'll continue to talk about it. And we will, of course, share the good news. I think it's best for us to wrap up on good news before we head to share with you our headlines, which is the fact that the African Cup of Nations has officially been concluded. And the latest winners or the champions of the AFCON 2026 is, drum roll,
Senegal.
I think we already
the Teranga
knew that.
Lions of Senegal,
Yes.
and they did it in the most dramatic fashion. You know, even the best script writers couldn't have come up with what we witnessed yesterday. Penalty was awarded the game at the last minute, the very last minute of the game, and the Senegalese players protested. They stayed to walk out. The game was stopped for about 20 minutes until they came back. And guess who?
He still
Brahim
went.
Diaz of Real Madrid, star boy, star player. How dare him try a penanka at this level? He missed it. Yes, and then the Senegalese scored in extra time to clinch the victory. It's their second AFCON
Check this goal out.
win.
As we
And
wrap up, check.
wow, beautiful goal there. Yes.
Oh.
I mean, this is Senegal's, they've been very consistent. It's their fourth final in
AFCONs, yeah.
Fourth final in 4 AFCONs, and they've won it 2 times in those editions. So they I hope they help Africa in the World Cup coming up later this year.
All right, let's bring you our top stories quickly here on Breakfast Central this morning, and let's go straight to tell you what we're bringing to you this day.